You are listening to the Intelligent Vocalist Podcast, episode 154.
Welcome to the Intelligent Vocalist with John Henny. This is the podcast dedicated to help you be a smarter, better, more informed singer. And now, your host for the Intelligent Vocalist, John Henny.
Hey there, this is John Henny. Welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Vocalist. I do so appreciate you spending your precious listening time with me. Today, I am very excited to bring you Mindy Pack. Mindy Pack has been a heavily requested guest. You could always let me know who you'd like to hear on the podcast or topics. Just shoot me an email, john@johnhenny.com. And Mindy is someone I've known for a number of years, and I've just watched her become this powerhouse voice teacher. She's releasing product. She's touring with superstar artists, and she's also very in tune with the latest science and even completed Dr. Ingo Tietze's Summer Vocology Institute program, which is no small feat. Mindy and I talk about life on the road, what it takes to stay healthy, what separates these great artists from mere mortals, and also what she's been doing in the discipline of straw vocalization. And she has a new product I wanted to bring her on and talk about that utilizes vocalizing straws as well as cups. And it's a unique product. So I'm very happy to talk about it. Just a quick note, there was a bit of a microphone issue as we were recording. So there's a little bit of noise in our dialogue, but it shouldn't bother you because I think the information is fantastic. So without further delay, I bring you Mindy Pack. I am here with Mindy Pack. Mindy, welcome.
Thank you.
It's so
nice
awesome
to be here.
Oh, it's great. You've actually been requested as a guest.
Really?
Yes, you have.
Wow. That's very cool. Thank you.
When I reach out and ask people who they'd like to see on the podcast, your name has certainly popped up. So it's great to have you.
Wow, that's good. Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I appreciate you taking time out. Tell people where you currently are.
I am currently in Asheville, North Carolina, on tour with a band called the Lumineers.
And you're going to do the entire tour with them?
I'll be with them through the entire tour. I don't know if I'll be traveling with them the whole time. So currently we're doing the U.S. leg tour prep right now. So we're prepping for them to launch. They have a run from, I think, now through the end of March. Then they break for a month, and then it's festivals, and then the rest of the U.S. So I'll be spot checking in and out and doing stuff. So just kind of depends on how they're feeling and how they're doing.
Yeah, and just for our listeners, give them a sense of your vocal practice. Who are some of the other people you've worked with?
Let's see. So last year I worked with the Luminaires still. I worked with Brandy Carlisle, Justin Timberlake. I worked with Halsey. Who else? Indigo Girls. I mean, there's a bunch. So Tesseract Rock Band, Royal Bliss. Like there's just, it's a fun list.
And what's amazing is you're able to do this not being based in New York, Nashville, LA, but Salt Lake City.
Yes. Salt Lake City, Rocky Mountains, home there. Yeah. So it's been fun. So I can kind of stay there and then bounce out when I need to, go where I need to go and come back. So, or we meet online too. So if I'm not on the road with them, then we have weekly or daily check-ins online while we're out. So just kind of depends on where they're at, what they're doing, and the demand, if they have back-to-back shows or what's happening.
Yeah. So you don't have to live in a music center these days.
You do not, which I'm very grateful for, because I don't know if I want to raise my children in Los Angeles.
I don't think you do.
But I am there a lot.
Yeah. It's been fantastic just to see how your career has blossomed. What got you initially interested in teaching?
Well, for me, it was, I was always a performer. So I, singer, dancer, performed all over, did a bunch of, like kind of like USO type tours where we traveled all over doing like humanitarian work. And when that kind of started filtering out, I ended up getting pregnant with my oldest. And from there, it was like, I can't really tour, doing things. So how can I make it work? So I started working at a performing arts studio where I taught a bunch. I think at one time I had like 300 students a week in these classes and privates. And then I kind of figured, oh, not everybody sings like me. I should probably figure out how to teach different voices and figure out what works for, everybody else. And so that kind of led me down a path of doing different outside private organizations. I did go to college in the music program, but it was more of a classical training. At that time, there was not a lot of contemporary programs here, and you just didn't really think about moving out of state. So I did the classical side, but it didn't really fit what my passions were or anything. So I started researching other different organizations and that where I could get credentialed and really understand the contemporary side of the voice, and just kind of led me down this other path. So, which opened up a ton of different doors, and never in a million years would I think I'm at where I'm at currently. So it's pretty amazing.
And the other thing I really admire about your teaching is how much you've delved into the science side of things.
The brain explosions.
Yeah, like you've dove in like almost no other teacher I know. And
really?
Yeah. Just your passion for it. I'll see teachers learn just kind of enough that things make sense for what they're doing, and you're just constantly looking for more and expanding your knowledge, and just maybe talk a bit about how important science is to your teaching.
Well, one of my favorite quotes that one of my clients always says is, knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have. And so that's really kind of stuck in with me. And I always tell people the minute I stop learning is the minute I stop teaching, because things are always evolving and there's more discovery and more research being done. So throughout this kind of like whole process, I never really had heard about voice science or anything like that. It was always application. And I never really thought about what vowels do or anything like that. And I remember going to a conference that you were at, and we had I can't remember. I think it was, I don't know. Somebody came in and I was like, what's a formant? And
it was Dr. Donald Miller.
Yeah. Anyway, he was there and it was like so over my head. And I was like, I do not understand. I'd never heard anything like that ever. And I just thought, okay, here's a new path that I need to go down. And so I started researching kind of all these different books, and it didn't really make a lot of sense. And there was a point in my career where I had and it's a totally long story, so we'll not talk about it, but I had my 4-month-old had an attempted kidnapping on him. And from that experience, it was clearly very traumatic. And from there, I got injured vocally because I wasn't sleeping. I got super sick. My hair was falling out. And when I got injured, kind of the shaming that kind of came on me as a teacher, as a person, as a vocalist, it put me in touch with this amazing voice team here in Salt Lake. And part of that voice team, her name's Karen Cox. And we were having a conversation one day, and she was like, I really want you to meet my dad. And I was like, oh, well, this is weird. Okay. Why do you want me to meet your dad? And she's like, well, his name's Ingo Titsa. And I was like, who's that? And at that time, I had no idea who he was. And so I went to his house and I meet this incredible man. And literally at the table, I was like, so what do you do for a job? He looks at me, and Karen looks at me, and she's like, he's a voice scientist. And I was like, what's that? And this is even after this conference. And so I was kind of explaining my journey. He was explaining what he does. And I was like, oh, okay. So your stuff is all like, a lot of your research has been in classical. And so then I started singing for him and like showing how I could demonstrate things in classical sound and then in contemporary sound. And from there, it just merged into this like really beautiful relationship where I felt really comfortable asking him all sorts of questions. And he really sat down and explained voice science to me in really layman's terms. And from there, he made it so I didn't have the master's or the PhD or anything like that, but he made me feel so comfortable that I really sat down and started studying it even more. And then he really encouraged me to do his summer vocology training, which is called SVI. And the first block was super intense, and it's all the physics and math behind aerodynamic pressures and why things work the way they work, and like the formant harmonics and why the acoustics and the sine waves and everything really, really matter. And I was totally, out of my element because I was there with PhDs and other, other voice scientists and people that studied, acoustics. And I was just the contemporary voice teacher that was there just trying to learn and literally hanging on by my fingertips, trying to like make it through. And, fortunately for me, I'm married to somebody whose minor was like math and physics. So he could like really explain it even more to me and being like, this is how it works in the voice world. Like, so we kind of like married it, and it really changed the way I taught. It made it so that I could understand really complex situations, but then explain it very simply to people who may not needed to have that deep, complex scientific, but then it also made me sound really smart to people who did. So it's just kind of been a really interesting journey.
I've always explained science and the understanding of it. I compare it to the old Where's Waldo books. And
yeah.
When you're looking for Waldo in the sea of red and white, once you find him, then he immediately pops out at you. And I find that science, the understanding, the more you understand what you're hearing, the more things pop out to your ear. And I think it's helpful for singers as well as teachers. The more you understand. And there's the argument, the counter argument that, all this technical know-how will kill your artistry and your emotion and overthinking. What's your opinion on that?
I think it depends on who you're working with. I think for some people who are very logical and who need to understand why things are working the way they're working, when you actually show them on a spectrograph, like here's where we're aiming for, here's what it is, then not only can they see it, but then they can feel where that's at and they can feel where it is. So I think for, that kind of person, it's amazing. And for other people, they're just like, just get me there. I just need to feel it. And so I think I really feel it comes into what is the client's needs and how do they learn? And then from there, then they can express themselves. For me, I think when you give them all the tools and you show them different things, then they have choices into where, as an artist, they can then make the strongest choice for where it's at and go from there. And then I also have the debate, with a lot of science, people too, where it's like, just because it's still showing up like, hey, there's the correct formants or structures on there, but you can still squeeze and you can still have that, that tension in there that's not appropriate. So it's really about finding that balance on where it's at. But, who doesn't want choices, and who doesn't want the knowledge if they can get it, So I think it's just very dependent on who is the client.
Well said. Speaking of artists, what do you see, since you've been around singers of all levels, beginners, amateurs, big stars, what is it that really successful singers do that less successful singers don't?
They are constantly working. Constantly working.
I think that's what people miss is they look at successful people and they don't realize how hard these people work. And it's not a question of having to psych themselves into it. I mean, these are people hundreds of years ago would just be out in the fields when everyone else has gone home, or planting crops. Like they just don't stop working.
Yeah. I mean, like, just on the tours that we were, just the tours that we were on this last year and currently, I mean, it's, it's when you get a new client and you're trying to figure out that ethic, that work drive, how much can I say? How much can I not say? And I mean, you know me personally, so you understand how I am. And I'm the person that's like, I'm just going to tell you straight up and let's get to work. And if I'm here working with you, we're going to have this conversation where I can be honest and I don't have to sugarcoat anything. And I'm not playing a game. And fortunately, everybody that I've come in contact with, they're open to criticism. They're open to the feedback, and they're open. Not one of them has ever been, I'm at my peak and I'm at my best. They're always like, how can I make this better? How can I make this less effortful? And so they are constantly working to achieve that, whether that's, from with Lumineers, like just making sure the fingering on the guitar is the right way. And here's this, and how do I hit this one vowel just right? And how do I want, like, we're just constantly diving into like the nitty gritties, and he does not stop doing that. And same with like all the background singers. And, Justin was the same way. He just was constantly evolving and working, and what can I do better? And here's this. And you would think that people at this level would just be like, I have arrived, let's do this and let's get out and do it. But no, everything was constantly worked out in detail, like just the details that go into it. So the work ethic that it takes to get there, they're constantly practicing, they're still working out, they're doing everything that we're telling them, and they're not taking it for granted. And I think that's why they're having all the success. So just, you got to work hard.
And what are the, what do singers need to watch out for if they're going to go out on the road? What are the pitfalls that you see?
First I'm going to say there's a lot of yes people, because they want to be in your camp. So I think it's really finding the right people that want they want you to succeed, not for them to succeed with you. So I think it's really important to find the people that are there for you for the right reasons, because there's a lot of people who are there to ride that success ladder with you. So it's all about your intentions. Like, what are your intentions? And really finding the people that have the same goal and aspiration you have. It's not, I'm a believer of what can I do for them versus what can they do for me? Mm-hmm. And when I get into that mentality, or when I see people in that mentality, then I know it's not the right fit. It's always about how can I help them? So that would be the first thing, is really, really establishing a team that's there for your success and not for them, it to be a stepping ladder for them. Never stop working. I'm going to go back to that again. Like, it's definitely a hustle. So like, how do you constantly improve yourself to become greater than where you are currently? The people that surround you, don't smoke.
Yeah. I mean, health issues,
don't smoke.
Sleep and diet can be extremely hard on
Oh man, it's insane, because when you're out here, I mean, touring on the road, or like even just tour prepping, just, with all the studies that are coming out on, I mean, we already knew no smoking, but now like there's actual official studies on the smoking and the vaping components of that. Like, just don't do it. And the sleep is a killer. Like, you've got to find time to sleep and really kind of set those boundaries. And, I think it's really important for the singer or the lead singer that you need to have somebody that can help manage everything on the road, that especially up and coming artists, who maybe don't have the finances to have a full team. You have to have somebody that can help you, whether that's your bandmates or whatever. Like, you cannot be the sole person that's booking, that's driving, that's setting it up, that's doing the meet and greets, that's networking and doing things. Like, you have to have somebody that can help you so that you can, deliver your artistry. So I think it's, there's a lot. I mean, we could probably have 5 other podcasts going through all sorts of these like different components.
You bring up a great point though, of the people who are around them. And I think people would think that celebrity, you would have the best of everything at all times. But I have to say, you're among a very small group of voice teachers who work with celebrities that I hold in high regard. Because
so nice.
Well, you're welcome. But as we both know, there are teachers in that world who are stunningly mediocre, and it's more that their networking skills rather than their knowledge and teaching skills and empathy is kind of helped them get there. So your partner Rob Stevenson.
I know, he's amazing.
Yeah, I just love. I mean, when you started getting celebrity, because I've known you for a long time, when you started to get into that world, I was so happy because it was like there's a great voice teacher where they should be. And so just a tip of my hat to you. You know, you really deserve this. And I'm just really happy to see this.
Thank you. It's it's been a lot of work, and I certainly couldn't have done it without Rob, kind of going in there. And, Rob's kind of been in the game for a long time, and he has shown me and taught me a lot, and vice versa. Like we are a dynamic team together, and can filter, the shoes kind of going in and out when he's not free. I can go out, vice versa, so, a lot of that, him helping me navigate into this. And, it's been fun because I've worked so hard to get the knowledge that I have and to train the way I've had and to be a singer myself. Like, that's what's been so funny to see with some of these people is that, I go in and I do stuff, and then all of a sudden I'll demonstrate something and I'll sing something, and they'll look at me and they're like, "You sing?" And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, "Wow, like the last coach we had," or whatever. And I'm like, "Would you take drum lessons from somebody who couldn't keep rhythm?" I don't understand that concept. And so because of that, I still keep up in my own training and my own voice going through. But yeah, it's interesting. You meet a lot of fun people out here, and I agree with you. There's some people who are very interesting in their dynamics, but at the end of it is if their clients or if my clients feel like they are improving and moving forward, and they at least they have somebody who's helping them through the road, because the demand that they go through is super intense. So, that's all we can do is hope that they're helping them.
Absolutely. I want to talk to you about your latest venture. You've now moved into a product line. Tell us a little bit about that.
The voice straw. Yeah. So I've been working on this project for about 4 or 5 years now. It kind of came to me with when I was doing SVI over the summer, and we were doing labs with air pressures and dynamics and stuff like that. And, everybody's, most people have heard about straw phonation and kind of what it does. And I was trying to figure out a way because, obviously we wanted to get rid of plastic and all of that, but to really come out with a kit that science has proven to work. And so a lot of people have vocalized with, a regular drinking straw or a coffee straw. And a lot of times people are doing straw phonation incorrectly. And so I was waiting for some latest, science studies to come out, and we finally finished the kit where this, it's a training tool for singers and any voice user. So singers, actors, voiceover actors, motivational speakers, preachers, whatever, anybody who's a voice user, this works. And what the straw does is it trains the source. So it's training the actual vocal folds and the larynx position to be in its optimum position for peak performance. So we're getting the vocal cords to completely square up so that they can, connect and flow in the right way. It regulates the air pressure, and it gets any of the internal muscle tension. So if you're over squeezing and the false folds are coming in, it unpresses all that. So we're really working the epilaryngeal space so that you have like I said, the capacity to then go out and do all the vocal acrobatics and then come back to it.
And for those who don't know, epilaryngeal.
How would you explain it? It's the space that kind of above the glottis. It's kind of the area that kind of moves the larynx just a little bit so that you're kind of getting everything out of the way. Everything kind of clusters down there. I'm talking like air pressure, aerodynamic pressure, so that you can, I call it boosting the sound.
Yeah.
So that you can kind of get that space in order to create, the patterns that we want. You're just
and the glottis being the opening of the vocal folds.
Exactly. So all that. So thank you.
You're welcome. No, it's funny because even sometimes when I'm babbling about things on the podcast, and then I'll get feedback of, well, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that. So as voice teachers, we just start talking and
I know. And we get all like, it's common knowledge, but it's not. So
and then the cups.
Yes. So this is what makes
a new element that really piques my interest.
Yeah. So the cups is it comes kind of with the kit. And what the cups does, like the easiest way to explain it is that you have the aerodynamics that are fixed because of the straw. And then you put the cups in a tight seal against your mouth, and you still have a straw that's in the cup. So you're still elongating the entire vocal tract because you're regulating the flow with air. But when the cups kind of seal against your mouth, you can sing, you can articulate, you can use your mouth and all of that. So you're actually in kind of like performance mode. But because of the inertive reactance, the energy that you're creating with the actual straw, it's now marrying with the acoustic pressures. So you're getting aerodynamic and acoustic pressures to marry so that you are in your peak, vocal performance to get out there. So you're training muscle memory for your actual performance or what you do. So hopefully, if I can get it all finished here within the next few weeks, the actual imagery that we have inside so you can physically see what's happening is when you go into a speech mode. So say you're going into introducing yourself for the concert and you're like, are you guys ready? And you like get super intense and you go into that talking. You can physically see false folds engage. You can see the tension come in. You can do that. When you go through the cup and you do it with the same intensity, because of the science behind it, the energy and the inertive reactance, you actually see the false folds completely disengage. You see the throat completely open up. So you are using no extra muscle tension, and you're boosting the acoustics to be like right in the form, like I don't want to say formant cluster or whatever, but you're right in that ping where it needs to be. And then you take the cup away and you're right there because now you have a muscle memory of how to do it. So you're building that muscle memory without having to have all that squeeze and that intensity of going through there.
And inertive reactance. Oh, I'm sorry. An inertive reactance is one of those things that's a little tricky to understand, but basically it's energy is feeding back to your vocal cords.
Exactly. So if you think of the cords in like how they open and close phase, you have, and you're going through the straw. When you just open your mouth without the straw, it's like a puh, and everything kind of goes out and away. But the straw makes it filter so that you have kind of this back pressure, this back energy that's in there that siphons back down to get the waves to continue to move. So you have this whole reaction that's happening in there, and that's the energy you want to store it up. So another easy way to explain it is if you're on a swing set and you're kicking your legs out and kind of swinging, and all of us have felt it when all of a sudden you hit that swing the right way and it like boosts you so you can like go. That's kind of what that inertive reactance is what we're looking for when we are vocalizing is we want that swing where all of a sudden you're like, wee, or like when you're on a trampoline and you double bounce somebody and they shoot up. That's the energy that we're trying to get vocally so that we are in our optimum performance. And, with this kit that we have, on the market currently, it's the only one that has kind of that double duty of working aerodynamic pressures with the actual acoustic pressures.
And where can people find this?
So you can just go to the website it's just voicestraw.com. And it comes with, you can, certainly do different things where, excuse me, where you can get one or the other or both, but each complete kit comes with an actual workout. So there's videos and there's exercise patterns on how to do straw phonation correctly. And that's the one thing that I want to really kind of reiterate is in our kit, there's different sizes. Our voices are not a one size fits all. And there may be some days where you had a heavy workload or you've been sick or you been coughing or you had a heavy show the night before. The diameter of the straws really, really matter. And every voice is different. So if you are a more tense singer, you may need a fatter straw. If you are more of a breathy singer, you may need a smaller straw. And the other thing that matters is the length. If you go a bigger opening or more air, you have to go longer in the diameter. You cannot go shorter or else it's just a complete waste and everything else. And if you're doing that, you're not getting the same effect. And so you have to go longer with the amount of size of opening that you're bringing. And so there's other stuff out there that has that, but really do your homework on what it is, because it could not be as efficient as it needs to be. And you need to make sure that you have the right sizing.
Awesome. And where can people find out more about you?
My website, it's just my name, mindypack.com, or just follow me on Instagram at Mindy Pack.
And that's
P-A-C-K. Yep, like Wolfpack. Here we go. But yep, P-A-C-K. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mindy, thank you so much for spending this time with us. And
absolutely. Thanks for having me. I loved it.
Oh, it's always great to talk to you.
I love talking to you. So anytime.
We'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.
Yep. See ya.
Hey, if you would like more resources, please visit my website, johnhenny.com. I have a free straw warm-up course there, right there on the front page. Also, if you would like to become a voice teacher, just click on Teacher Training up in the top tab, and you can get information on my Contemporary Voice Teacher Academy. It's going really well. Lots of very happy voice teachers from around the world are members there. Perhaps you'd like to join us. And if you want to get the show notes for this episode, just go to johnhenny.com/154 for episode 154. And you can always check the show notes. I'm going to be adding full transcriptions and downloadable PDFs. So you can always go to the show notes, just my name, johnhenny.com/ and the episode number. And until next time, to better singing. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.